This is the Final Word Daily with Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins. Day 4 of Test 4 at the Oval. The first thing we have to do on this show, as always, is explain the whole day in the space of 30 seconds. Adam, your time starts now.
Test cricket, goodness me. India are 171 when they start the day. They only had 59 in the first session. England take 3 wickets, including the big one, Kohli edging off Moeen for 44 just before lunch. Then after lunch, they had 116, losing just 2 wickets. Shardul Thakur smacks another 50, makes 60. Rishabh Pant 50. They keep going after tea with Umesh, Yadav and Jasprit, Bumrah getting into the act. All out 466. They set England 368, but they are 77 for none overnight. They need 291 to win tomorrow. All 4 results are on the table, Geoff.
It has been interesting listening to the commentary of this test match because over the course of the match the surface has gone from demonic, absolutely Greek mythology monsters on the first day to being the Calder Park Raceway by day 4. Apparently it's the easiest wicket to bat on that anyone has ever played cricket on in the history of cricket, and so England will romp home to 368 tomorrow. England has never ever chased a total that big in Test cricket history. I'll just put that out there. 148 years, whatever, 140, 144, 145. It's been a long time anyway. So it's quite a big ask to do it, but it does look like a decent surface, and they do have a good start. It's hard to know what to make of today because it rocked and it rolled. It was India going well when it was 59 between Kohli and Jadeja. Then it was India in trouble when they were out quickly. They were only 220 odd in front at that point, and then they were on top again as they pushed onto that big lead. And just now, maybe Indian supporters will be a little bit nervous, and England supporters may be nervous as well about day 5.
Yeah, I might start with the surface. I reckon it's been a great pitch. Day 1 was juicy. It got better to bat through day 2, through day 3. Today it was fairly dead. But watching Jadeja bowl his long spell from the Vauxhall end down here before stumps tonight, when he landed it in the footmarks, it ragged. Maybe not ragged the way that Ashwin might rag it or a wrist spinner might turn it, but it did enough to be a handful, especially towards stumps. So there'll be more of that tomorrow as the pitch continues to wear. India have so many fast bowlers, they'll make more footmarks and deeper footmarks, which were an issue when England was bowling. James Anderson was routinely having the pitch tidied up a little bit because the holes are kind of becoming really problematic. So that's a factor as well. So I actually think it's been quite a good pitch, and I like the fact that by afternoon 4 or evening 4, I should say, Rory Burns is pulling in front of square and Haseeb's cutting balls that are back of a length. I mean, sure, have it, more of it. I like that. They won't do it on day 1, but they can do it on late day 4. You earn the right to do that. So they got themselves in late. But I mean, yeah, what a rollicking day. At lunch, England are 230 behind, or India are 230 ahead rather. They're 6 down, India. And you're thinking, well, they've just lost Kohli about quarter of an hour before lunch. Punt's there, bad run of form. There with Shardul Thakur, who, can give it a whack, but let's keep things in some perspective here. He hasn't consistently given it a whack in his professional career. He's made 2 wonderful Test half centuries before today. The probability of him doing it twice in a row isn't high, and yet that's precisely what they did. I think that's where the game drifted for England. Every time this Test match has looked like it's going to drift one way or the other, something's happened, and this was the one time that nothing happened. It did drift. England set 3 to 4 fielders out on the rope straight after lunch. It gave both players a chance to play themselves in, building confidence, take the lead beyond 250, beyond 300. They ended up putting on an even 100, and when that partnership was broken, they both fell in the space of a couple of overs. And it was kind of job done, really, wasn't it? There were some handy partnerships towards the end as well to get it up to a target of 368. But what a massive effort. They batted for so long.
The last couple put on 50 runs together, just over 50.
There you go.
The Bumrah and Umesh Yadav put on together. They both made 20 odd. I mean, that could be very important in the analysis at the end of the day. But it was interesting that, we talked about the comeback players, those who've come back into the 11 having an influence over the first couple of days. Same again today. The match is going India's way in the first session, and then it's Chris Woakes given the ball, and he's the one who gets through Jadeja, hits him just around the knee roll, but just low enough to be leg before wicket, and then he in-swings one into Rahane, who's out for a duck. It can happen. I'm sure people will be calling for his head because of it, and you do have to ask the question as to whether he's in good enough nick to play in the 5th test, or whether it might be in India's interest to put someone else in and give them a run. I'm still not entirely decided on it. Rahane made runs in the World Test Championship final. He made a 50 at Lords, so he's had a run of low scores around that as well, but it doesn't seem conclusive one way or the other. But the way the way it gets to the break, it's Wokes who's brought them back into it, and then it's Shardul Thakur who takes it away as well. People can look at that scorecard and say, oh, look, India made 450, heaps of runs, therefore the runs were cheap and it doesn't really matter. Shardul Thakur's runs have been vital in the first innings and in the second innings, because if he didn't support Rishabh Pant at that point, if he holes out to the mid-wicket fence for 4 or something like that, then, India can easily fall away under 300 in front, and England would be fancying their chances a whole lot more than they might at the moment. The partnership that they put on, the even 100, as you said, it was sensible, and it was circumspect for a fair bit of the time. There was a little bit of big hitting, but it was judicious. Rishabh Pant was 50 off 100 odd balls, going much slower than Shardul Thakur. Maybe having an attacking player with him meant that Rishabh didn't feel like he had to attack the same way, but he did exactly what people have been asking for over the last couple of weeks, which is temper the game a bit, rein it in a bit when in England, because it's not always going to come off to be super counter-attacking. And so he didn't do that on this occasion. But Shardul Thakur, the straight hits down the ground, the straight drives along the ground, looked a beautiful player with the bat. We thought of him as a bowler who can bat a bit, but he looks a bit better than that.
Yeah, our friend and colleague Jared Kimber's writing a piece right now. Can Shardul Thakur bat? He's sort of trying to absorb this question, looking at his professional career, looking at his numbers and trying to find a way through this, because you would have thought that on the back of what he's done at domestic level when he arrived as an international player earlier this year, that he probably can't bat. He probably adds to India's weakness in the lower order, but it's been the reverse of that so far. That straight drive that you referred to before was a stunning piece of cricket. He's played a few of them in this test match, a couple in the first innings and one today. He laced a cover drive at one point. Glorious batting, really. As for Rishabh Pant, it reminded me to an extent of the innings that he played at the Gabba, because at the Gabba people often forget that in that extraordinary 80-odd not out to win the game, he wasn't trying to knock balls into the stands the way that he was the previous week at Sydney. It was a different kind of innings. He did it through playing square of the wicket. Rishabh only hit 4 boundaries today. One of them was back over Moeen's head. I reckon that's the only time he danced and took on a bowler across the course of 104 deliveries, and that looks far more sustainable to me, certainly in these conditions, than the cavalier approach we saw at different times through the series so far, not least in the first innings here back on day one. By the way, day one feels like so long ago. 13 wickets on day one, and you press fast forward to stumps on day 4 and all 10 wickets to get on the 5th day. The probability of getting to a 5th day would have been so low at stumps on day 1 based on what we see around the world, but here we are, and that's been because the batting's improved, the pitch has improved, the way that India applied themselves after losing those 3 quick wickets, especially the way that Chris Wokes was bowling. For a moment there, Moeen Ali looked like he was going to have a big say in proceedings, but couldn't quite do that, although he did pick up 2 wickets and become England's 3rd most prolific off-spinner in the process, only with Laker and Swan ahead of him, of course, Graham Swan. That's noteworthy, as well as we work through the Moeen Ali series and career arc. The new England vice captain, I'm sure he'll have a role to play tomorrow with the bat. And sort of casting forward to tomorrow.
If you put them together, you get Swan Laker.
There you go. Very good, very good. And sort of thinking about tomorrow, the way I mentioned the square of the wicket play from Hameed and from Burns, how about the fact that India were forced to go to plan B quite early? I think at the 20 over mark there was 1 slip, there was 2 catching mid wickets. Not long after that there was a man around the corner, a leg slip towards the end. I'm not being critical, I'm just sort of stating reality. We got a close up of the ball, Geoff, on television at one point. The ball's knackered. So, they'll get a second new ball at some stage. And, reverse swing might be a factor at some point. In fact, I hope it is. You want the ball to reverse late in a test match if it's spinning. So, but Hameed, batting delightfully. Those 2 leg glances, it might not be the most aesthetically lauded stroke in the textbook, but the way he got across the line and opened it up in order to play from the full face of the bat, even with the threat of a leg slip and a leg gully, speaks volumes about his growing confidence in this England team. As for Rory Burns, he's in the form of his life, I think. I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say that through this 2021 home season, both for Surrey and for England, that ton at Lords he made against New Zealand, and the way that he's played, there's been a number of failures too, but he looked good. So it does mean that India are in the situation where tonight all the focus will be on them, and I'm sure everyone's going to sack Rahane, and I'm kind of conditioned to that now. Everyone was sacking Pujara on day one, and I'm sure everyone will sack KL Rahul next week. And it's the rotisserie of cricketers that we have to sack for an Indian Indian cricket. It doesn't add up to me, but that's the way it goes. Rahane, of course, who made the match-winning 100 at the MCG, which got India back into the series, and the way he played at the Gabba. I mean, it's kind of boring, really. But the point here is that there will be tomorrow a situation where India, at some point, will have the chance to snatch at it, the chance to buckle, the chance to lose their nerve. They've got to remember that they had a 99-run deficit in this Test match. They held their nerve. They held their catches. They did everything they needed to do. India have done exceptionally well since getting bowled out late on the first day. They need to remember that when they go to bed tonight. 291 runs on the last day. Yeah, it's not as daunting as it used to be. Teams are more conditioned to chasing. I think due to the proliferation of white ball cricket, lower order players tend to be better batsmen than they were a generation ago as well. That's a part of T20. So yes, England will feel confident by that, and they do bat deep, but India need to remember that 291 runs on the last day on a pitch that will give Jadeja plenty, on a pitch that it might reverse on. They needn't start thinking that they have to take a wicket in the first 5 overs tomorrow, all is lost. They just need to maintain calm, and that's a big job for Kohli tomorrow, because sometimes he doesn't. He needs to stay calm. He needs to maintain the tone.
10 mistakes, helping contribute to 10 mistakes. And look, I think what happened at the end of day 4 is that India bowled pretty poorly. So they sent 32 overs down at England. Maybe the first 20 of those weren't very good. Jadeja wasn't good early. He bowled short a lot. Hameed kept being able to cut Jadeja. He wasn't finding his length. Siraj, when he came on, was all over the place, kept bowling down the leg side and kept being clipped away to the fine leg fence. So tightening up tomorrow will be the first thing. But Jadeja, after about 9 or 10 overs of his spell, started to settle and bowled a really good last few overs. He kept hitting the footmarks outside Burns' off stump. He got a couple to spin pretty big, considering Jadeja doesn't spin it a large amount usually. He got a couple to skid and spit and go straight on, which is normally his more dangerous delivery anyway, when he's coming left arm over and sometimes hitting the footmarks and sometimes not. So if he can bowl like he did at the end of his spell rather than the start of his spell on day 5, you feel like wickets are going to come for him at some point. And then it's really down to whether the seamers can apply pressure at the other end by being accurate. There's not a lot in the pitch for them, and I'm not sure the ball will reverse given how green the outfield is. It might need a little bit of help somewhere along the line if it's going to do anything. Not that we condone that. No, I mean, nobody likes seeing reverse swing. Everyone hates it when the ball reverses. Nobody wants to see that. Oh, get that out of cricket. So whether that will happen, I'm not too sure about that, but it's going to be a matter of patience, I think, tomorrow, because they're not going to get the ball to spit and leap and jag off the seam or probably do much through the air. But look, maybe if there's a bit of cloud around, it'll do a bit. But it's really going to be about patience and about nerve. And England could do it. If you cast back to 2007, they played India at the Oval in the 4th innings. England, they were set about 500 to win and they drew the match, but they made 369 for 6. And here they need 368 in about 20 more overs than they had in 07. So it's not impossible to bat big at the end, at the Oval, if you've got a decent track. They've never chased a target this big, but records are there to be broken.
And we saw India make the better part of 300 runs on the final day here in 2018, and we've seen India do it this year at the Gabba. And I know that's unusual, but I kind of side on that as well. That I wouldn't doubt at all that we'll arrive at the tea break tomorrow with all 4 results still there on the table that I mentioned in the summary, and that's a great thing. As Test cricket lovers, we should embrace days when anything's possible on day 5, and I think that's the situation we've got it to. And look, Joe Root's in an extraordinary run of form. When he got out for 21 on the first evening, it was a shock to everybody. Like, this guy couldn't be gotten out until that point. He was batting so well through the series so far. So look, the Joe Root innings will be crucial. Seeing how England's middle order play under pressure. Going back 2 years to Headingley, Johnny Bairstow played a really important innings when they hauled down 359, which is the record for England chasers at the moment. It's the one that they're trying to break tomorrow. But I tell you what, it was hot here today. The crowd were all engaged. My Hall of Fame almost might be the fact that it's already sold out tomorrow. They sold it out by lunchtime.
Nice.
Tomorrow is sold out. There'll be 27,000 people here. It'll be hot. Because they don't sell day 5 tickets until into the test match, half the crowd will be Indian fans, no question, because these tickets for the first 4 days were rolled over from last year, the West Indies test that wasn't played. Therefore, there haven't been that many Indian fans in. Tomorrow, there'll be loads of Indian fans in. The atmosphere will be scintillating. The weather's going to be perfect according to the forecast. I mean, this is the stuff that Test cricket lovers dream of, and that's how I'm approaching tomorrow. 291 runs, 10 wickets. Maybe England can shut up shop at some stage, but I'm pretty sure they're going to chase. They're going to have a crack at this. I'd be surprised if they don't see this in a similar way to what India did at Lords a couple of weeks ago. They have to play very positive cricket from the outset in order to keep that within striking distance, and I think that will be the attitude they take. This is their chance to win the series. They've got to grasp the nettle. It won't be about holding on unless they absolutely have to.
Maybe that suits them, because if you look at who's to come, you've got Pope, you've got Bairstow, you've got Moeen Ali, you've got Chris Wokes coming in, like guys who like to play shots and who generally do better scoring quickly. They've got a decent surface to do it on. My Hall of Fame...
And Wokes was part of that chase last year, by the way, at Old Trafford, that we often forget about. We always talk about the Headingley miracle, but it was Joss Buttler and Chris Wokes, often forgotten that he played an instrumental hand that day down at number 7, I think he was. He's 8 in this team. So, yeah, he's got experience in doing something similar to this.
Well, he made 80-odd in that test match from memory. So, it was no small thing. The Hall of Fame for me... not the 6 itself, but the little smile on the face of Jasprit Bumrah when he popped one over the mid-wicket fence. Now, it's not like he's never hit a 6. He did come in at the end of a one-day international at one point against Australia, was it? And hit the last ball of the innings for 6, so he was 6 off 1. He's got the equal highest strike rate for an innings in one-day international history, and that can never be topped. So he does have 6 off 1 ball before, but to do it in a test match, he batted so well at Lords. He made another 25, was it, out there today? But to see him hit a 6 over the leg side, and just how chuffed he was with himself at having done it. It was a beautiful thing to see. Player of the day.
I might stick with that theme then. Umesh Yadav now has more than... Okay, how will I set this up? For every 2 boundaries that Umesh Yadav hits there, for every 2 fours he hits a 6. And we were trying to work it out. Nobody has a record like that. He stands alone. I looked at Tim Southey. I looked at Shahid Afridi. It's Umesh Yadav. He's now got, I think it's 18 sixes and 35 fours in Test cricket. Hit that huge blow into the pavilion off Moeen Ali behind me here. So, that was something I enjoyed on commentary today.
My player of the day is Rishabh Pant, because he did what he needed to do. He did the right thing. He did the team thing. He didn't entirely unmake himself. He did hit some shots down the ground. He did aim big a few times, but he was selective about when to do it, and I thought he played a really vital hand in setting up this test match for what is hopefully going to be an absolute ball burster tomorrow. Late tomorrow, late day 5. Wouldn't that be nice to have another late day 5 finish?
It would be. I'm going to agree with you. I think Rishabh Pant was the player of the day. Look at when he came in. That's what you measure it by, right? When did he come in? Where were India? And when he got out, where was India? Forget about the dance down the pitch and knocking Moeen Ali over his head. How about that square drive, which I think from memory took the lead beyond 300? That's Rishabh Pant at his best. I mean, I love Rishabh Pant at his most eccentric, but that's not what's called for right now. It's the other version, and I think that is the best version. The most sustainable is probably the word. The most sustainable version of him to be a long-term big scorer in Test cricket, and I'm sure he's got the ability. I'm sure he's got the application. So I think this, when we look back on his career, we'll look back on today as an important building block in what he can be.
Well, Haseeb, Hameed and Rory Burns will be back tomorrow, and so will we. The Final Word Daily every day of this Test series, and then God knows what after that. Geoff Lemon, Adam Collins. If you like our work, check out the Final Word on Patreon and have a look around for our audio podcasts and whatnot. You can find us. You've got the internet. You know how it works. Ask Michael Google. That's it. We'll see you on day 5.
Buckle up.